Welcome to the American Veteran Business Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on the remarkable journey of veteran entrepreneurs as they've taken their skills honed in the military and applied them to the business world. I'm your host, Dave Maestas, founder of AmericanVeteranBusiness.com, and together, of course, we have our co-host, James Beck from LifeBook Military.
And today we have the honor of speaking to a fellow veteran who's taken his experience in the armed forces and transformed it into a successful business. So we're going to dive into his journey, where he grew up, his military service, the challenges and triumphs of starting his own business. And our guest has a wealth of experience and insight, and we're excited to share that with you today. So whether you're a veteran thinking of starting your own business, or you're simply inspired by the stories and resilience and success of others, this podcast is for you. So let's go ahead and get started.
We'd like to welcome Jake Weidenbach, and he's out of Washington State, one of my old stomping grounds, an old friend too. And welcome to the show, Jake.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. I'm glad to be on here.
Right on. Yeah, it's always good, to catch up with people up there and see what's going on. And it looks like you guys are doing some really good stuff with Nash Power Sports, who you're working with now.
Yeah, I'm excited to be part of this company, growing rapidly. And I think it's a company that's a little more forward thinking than some of the outfits I've worked with in the past. They want to kind of be at the forefront of some things. They want the machines ridden and reviewed by the employees, and want us out at the local events, and just kind of in touch with what's going on in this industry. There's a lot of cool new products and a lot of new tech coming down the pipe, so I try to keep my finger on the pulse of all of it.
Right on. Well, before we get too deep into it, the first thing that we like to definitely get into before we talk about the business is, where did you grow up at?
So I'm from Washington. I've lived 38 of my 46 years here in Washington State, and spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, and I left the area for 4 years, lived in Bend, Oregon. I always seem to end up back here though. So
Yeah, right. And I guess it's hard to get out of there. And I mean, realistically, it's some pretty decent weather up in Washington. I mean, compared to other places at that latitude, it's not bad.
contrary to the national opinion, we actually have a decent amount of sunshine and clear days, and I love Washington. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little flip down here or up here for me from where I grew up in California, because it was all sun, and then a few days out of the year we'd have rain, and I would always just wish the rain would keep going and never stop. And so being living up here, it's where I've always wanted to live, and so kind of flipping that over, we do get a decent amount of sun up here, but the sun is not like it is down in California, where it's just like assaulting you. Up here when it's sunny, it's a nice, moderately climated day that just feels comfortable, and a nice little change of pace from the rain. So I really love it up here.
yeah.
Yep. So, did you end up joining the Marine Corps directly out of high school?
Yeah, I was standing on the yellow footprints 3 days after graduation. All of my friends were getting ready for their senior trip, and I was on the yellow footprints going, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Well, how did your parents feel about that?
Most of my parents and family, they all worked for Boeing. It was kind of assumed that I was going to hire in at Boeing and do that. I went on some tours like my junior and senior year, and I just kind of decided, I don't know how I knew this at 17, 18 years old, but I just knew that wasn't my path. So yeah, I signed up for the Marine Corps, and I got to hear it a little bit from some of the aunts and uncles, and some of the know-it-alls in the family, but it ended up working out pretty well. Uh,
Yep.
Nothing but good things to say about the Marine Corps. I had a great 4 year stint. Got stationed at Kaneohe Bay Marine Base in Hawaii and spent 9 months in Okinawa, Japan. And I was in during peacetime. Coconut Corps, pretty cool.
Right on. What was your actual MOS that you were in for the Marines?
I was an 0352, which is a tow gunner. Um, Kind of weird though, where I got stationed, it's really difficult, almost impossible for tow gunners to really train to the, to maximize their MOS. So I did a lot of 0311 rifleman ground pounder stuff, and tow training was kind of sprinkled in. We had to like go to the Big Island to Pahakaloa training area to do actual tow training if we wanted to operate, in cat teams.
Hmm.
Yeah. Huh. That's pretty
Yeah, I
crazy.
don't think we ever talked about what what it was that made you join the Marine Corps in general, or what motivated you to join the Marine Corps, and then why the Marine Corps.
Okay, so I met maybe the best salesman I've ever met in my life. He was a Marine recruiter. It's funny, I went into the recruiting office my junior year with a buddy of mine, and I was a high school wrestler, and I had my Letterman jacket on, and he was getting information, and I'm just sitting there kind of twiddling my thumbs. And this super yoked staff sergeant with his head polished and his sleeves, vacuum sealed to his guns, starts looking me up and down. He's like, "How long you been thinking about joining my corps, boy?" And I'm like, "I don't know if I am. I'm just here with my buddy. He's getting information." And he's like, "Yeah, you might not have what it takes anyway. That might be best for both of us." And I just remember like, what the hell? Like, I was like, why is he talking to me like this? Anyway, I started getting curious, and I came back a few days later, and I was like, "So if I was thinking of joining, what do you have to offer me?" And he's like, "Wrong question, boy. What do you have to offer the United States Marine Corps? That's the question you need to ask yourself." He goes, "You go on, you think about that, and you come back when you have an answer." And I just remember it really got under my skin. It irritated me, but I came back, and
Oh,
yeah, he had me hook, line, and sinker. He kind of made me want it. He kept taking it away from me.
Yeah,
isn't
Anyway,
that
no regrets.
funny?
I watched a lot of action movies. The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. That one had something to do with it. And my favorite movie as a kid was Aliens, the Space Marines. They were always kind of badass to me. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I mean, that's ballsy too. As a recruiter, they got numbers and quotas to fill. The normal attitude that we all have about recruiters is they're going to do whatever it takes to get you to sign on the dotted line,
yeah,
right?
not this guy, man. He
Not this
he
guy.
he took it away. He had a way of making you want it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, the funny thing is I wonder how many other Marines have a similar story like that. And I say that just because more than anything, as a recruiter and someone who is a professional, what he's doing, he probably read you and knew kind of who you were and knew that that approach was probably going to be something that would be beneficial for both of you.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been in sales now for over 20 years. I do takeaway closes like on a regular basis. I That's one of my favorite ways to close a deal. It's just like, "Hey, man, it's not for everybody. It might not be for you." And then just shut up and let them come back into it.
Talk himself into the sale. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
funny. So, man. Yeah. So did you get to, go anywhere else while you were in? You went to Hawaii, you went to Okinawa.
I mean, Camp Pendleton for my infantry training, and I mean, we were on like red alert status when Kosovo was happening. We actually were out on a flight line ready to get on a bird, and a unit that was closer and deemed more combat ready ended up taking our place. But I was in from 97 to 2001, so there wasn't a ton going on during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. So you probably got out, just before 9/11, I imagine. And, you know,
I did. I remember thinking, wow, I'm going right back in. Um, I had just gotten used to being a civilian again. I even had like, my hair kind of grown out, and I had like an eyebrow ring. And I'm working a toilet job in a steel foundry, and yeah, working graveyard shift in a steel foundry on South Tacoma Way. Uh, Kind of regretting getting out. And then 9/11 happened, and I thought for sure I was getting reactivated. I did end up getting a call from a colonel somewhere. He was just trying to figure out, this is where you live, this is your address, where are you working, blah, blah, blah. He said, if you have any changes in employment or changes in your address, you need to let us know. Other than that, just don't get fat and keep your uniforms ready. And I'm like, whoa. And then nothing happened. I didn't get reactivated. So,
Well, yeah, that's funny because, I mean, with that inactive reserve, you can get called up, and I don't think a lot of people realize that that's possible, but a lot of people did actually get called up
Yeah.
to go in.
yeah, I
Every,
remember having
hey,
anxiety about it for several months. Um, Not that I was worried about going back, just the not knowing part.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it can be difficult to plan your future knowing that I can get yanked away when I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. So you got out of the Marine Corps, and you're in Washington State. So I guess you started working in various industries. What did you start working on? You started
So when
working
I got
at Steel
out,
Foundry.
I had no real plan B put together. I joined it with every intention of doing 20 years. It wasn't until the last few months of my enlistment that I decided to get out. If I had reenlisted, they were going to send me to Camp Lejeune to be a marksmanship instructor, teaching recruits how to shoot. And, I've made my peace with it now. For a good year to 2 years, I was like, why did I get out? Like, why? Life's so much harder now. Uh, I just got used to my decisions being made for me and being part of something bigger than me and life moving at 100 miles an hour all the time. And then I just remember being in a real, just a spot where I'd kind of like lost my way a little bit. Um, Lost my confidence, lost my sense of identity, um, just kind of in a ditch. And fortunately, I've always had good people in my life around me. And it was just something where I found some opportunities. I tried some different gigs. I went and got certified to be a personal trainer because I thought I wanted to, help people get in shape and all that kind of stuff. And I actually like doubled down. I got a job selling like supplements at a GNC while being a person because I figured people coming in looking for supplements, I could like say, well, hey, I'm a trainer, like um anyway, dabbled with that for a little bit, and it seemed like every 6 months for 3 years I had a different gig, and it was driving my dad nuts. He just retired from the same career field for like 37, 38 years. And that was the mindset. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, Dad, I'm gonna keep trying things until I find something that I kind of gel with, something I like doing, something that I'm into, something I don't dread getting up to go do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I ended up in sales. I knew I wanted to be in sales because I know that to get the best out of myself, I need performance-based incentives. And I don't want to be told that, no matter how hard I work, you're only going to make this much. I want to determine my own worth. So, yeah, I've been in sales now for over 25 years. Um, the car business is something my dad and I came up with. That my parents got divorced when I was like 9. And when I went to hang out with my dad on the weekends, we always cruised around. He had like, cool sports cars. He always had a cool car, and we would always drive around blasting rock music. And when I was at his pad, I would always read his car magazines, like cover to cover.
Mm.
And, stuff from English and math class, for whatever reason, that shit went in one ear out the other. But car specs just stuck. I can still remember car specs that I read as a teenager in like Motor Trend magazine.
Huh.
Anyway,
That's pretty.
um,
Yeah, that's
so
pretty interesting.
yeah, it helped me in the Marine Corps too because I was always good at armor identification. I could identify friendly and foe tanks with the different armor characteristics and the shape of the turret and the different smoke screen devices they have on them and whatnot. So um, it's a pretty useless skill outside of that, but yeah, I mean, um, in the car world where I've been in vehicle sales now for 20 years, 15 selling cars, and the last 5 years power sports. Being able to identify vehicles based on like the shape of their tail lights or like the grill, it's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
You know,
hadn't thought about that, as a tow gunner. That's a useful skill. And I was a forward observer in the Army, and so we had to do a lot of the same stuff. Like you're calling for fire on something that's thousands of meters away, and you need to make sure you're shooting something that belongs to the enemy, doesn't belong to us, right?
Right. Friendly
Well,
or foe, that's important.
same thing in your line, and you don't always have in those type of scenarios and situations. You don't have a whole lot of time to figure out, what something is or isn't. So you got to spend some time in training, practicing, and getting used to, silhouettes and certain different things that those vehicles, signatures, and things that they put off. So, but I never, that's something you and I have never talked about, and we've been friends for years now, but that's an interesting thing, man. We should talk about that sometime because that's something that I think we'd have a lot of fun talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what a lot of vehicles are just by their tail lights at night. Like,
Yeah.
uh, anyway, yeah. So, 20 years of vehicle sales. It's got its highs and lows for sure. It can be a grind. Um, but it's the closest thing for me that I've ever had like a natural aptitude for. I've just always been kind of a gearhead, and they make sense to me. I love driving, I love riding motorcycles, so I love helping someone find the right car or find the motorcycle that they're gonna not just enjoy riding, but like look back at before they go inside. Like everyone that's really into their bike does that. Like you're walking inside, you turn around, you look at it real quick. Yeah, okay, and then go do what you're gonna go do.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, all of us actually, we met, with a veteran-owned organization called Ignite You there, based in Tacoma, and you joined that networking group and that organization, and you just killed it right off the bat with sales. Tell us how that went for you.
Okay, so I had never done any type of like organized or strategic networking or anything like that. I mean, I was making some, scrappy content for social media and sharing it. And I like had a little newsletter for a little bit when I was in the car business. But um, when I moved back to Washington, I left Bend, Oregon, which is a super chillax town. People move there for a lifestyle, Deschutes River, kayaking, snowboarding, hiking. Nobody really moves there to work more than 40 hours a week. So the dealership I worked at was kind of a country club. It was really chillax. Nobody was like diving over a desk for a ringing phone or trying to like hoard more than their fair share. Well, then when I moved up to Washington, I started working at Northwest Motorsport, which kind of called themselves, they proclaimed to be the New York Yankees of used cars. And it was a very like boiler room, cutthroat environment. Like I had never seen this before, but dudes would sit with their finger on the phone at their desk, and the second the phone rang, they had it. And like other guys would stand outside and call cars that hadn't even pulled into the lot yet. They're calling it by color or make. And if that pulled in, that was their opportunity. I'm like, I'm going to starve here. I've never done any of this crap. So like I was really in a panic mode. I'm like, what did I just do? I just left Bend, Oregon, a town I loved. I left a group of dudes that I got along great with, and now I'm in this environment. So it was one of those things where it's like I made this bed, now I got to sleep in it. So I was looking for any way to like put myself in front of people, and I found business networking. I did a Google search, and it was Ignite You, and decided to go give it a try. Well, I went in there on a Tuesday morning, and I'm counting people, and I'm like, wow, there's got to be 80, 90 people here. This is more people than I could put myself in front of in a week, maybe even a month at the dealership. I'm going to do this. And I started going twice a week and just trying to, make friends with people. And I think the fact that I never woke up at any point, looked in the mirror, and saw a car salesman looking back at me. And at any point in the 15 years that I sold cars, I was a gearhead. I was someone who genuinely loves like cars and talking about cars and driving the shit out of cars. The money was a byproduct of that. But there's a lot of people in the car business that just they're about money and they don't really even care about the cars. It's just merchandise. It's just metal. So I was a little different in that regard, and I don't think I tried to just pick the low hanging fruit, like a lot of car salesmen would. I was doing a couple one-to-one meetings a week with people. I was, brainstorming with people that were smarter than me, that were good at marketing in different industries, and I just started picking up tidbits from people. And one of the things I had to do is just get over my own little fears. Um, putting yourself on video and putting it out to the world, that's not a normal thing for a lot of people. And it wasn't for me either. It's something that I was nervous about. Uh, what are people going to say? Do I look stupid? Do I sound dumb? All that self-defeating stuff. And I just kind of made a decision to like not worry about it. Who cares? At least I'm trying something new. Anyway, it started working. Some things that I started doing from Ignite You, like they were not the norm for car salesmen. I started having people from this group come down on Friday mornings after the meeting, and I'd let them pick out any car they wanted to drive. And then while we're driving it, I would do a Facebook Live interview of them in the car. And then I had my own podcast for a little bit called The Car Lot. We did 10 episodes, but I would have different people from the industry come on, give their opinions of like where things are going within the industry. And then I would have a guest usually from some other industry and let them talk about what they do for a living and what they're doing in the community. So um, giving other people a platform to talk about themselves ended up, I reaped rewards from it. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. And I think that, man, that must have been like around probably 2018 or 2019 or so, right?
Yeah, I was in the group, as a car salesman from 2017 through 2020. And then, COVID happened and I switched industries. I I couldn't make that group work the same way with motorcycles and such, but I'm still in the group. I still get a lot of value from it. I don't really profit from it anymore. I'm there more now to like gain knowledge from people about marketing techniques and now about videography. I've gotten really into making and editing videos. So
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you way up through the ranks, as a salesman, switching over into the power sport arena, and then getting into the managerial roles, and that's how you found yourself as a manager over there at Nash now. Um, so talk a little bit about that, since you mentioned it, that you are building a YouTube channel with different reviews of bikes and things like that. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, so this is something that I tried to bring to life in the car business. When I was at Northwest Motorsport, I created a YouTube channel and I went out and got a MacBook and some camera stuff. And, I had the idea, a bunch of mounts to put cameras on cars. And I started taking cars out and doing reviews on them. And then COVID occurred and that kind of ripped the rug out from under that plan. I got told, we're not even really supposed to be open right now. So you can't be out, cruising cars around, not wearing a mask, doing these reviews. Like, it's just not going to work right now for us. So it was kind of a bone crushing defeat and it hurt. And it's just something I had to tuck away until another opportunity came around. So fast forward a few years, I switched from the car business. I took a finance position at Southbound Motorsport, which is another power sport company. I was the finance manager there for 2 years and then got promoted to the sales manager for a year and a half. And while I was there, this company that I'm working for now tried recruiting me more than a few times. And I didn't jump ship just because of loyalty. And, I don't just look for uh, whatever's the easiest path to where I'm going to get. I want to make sure where I'm at that I give it my all before I decide to go a different route. Long story short, I started doing a lot of things that were outside of my pay plan, extracurricular things for the store, video reviews on bikes, being out at different events and such. And compensation just wasn't equaling the effort. So um, that's how I ended up at Nash. So all of it was worth it. I learned a ton from all of it, and I'm at a spot now that really values what I'm doing. I actually get paid now to make video content for this store. So basically, I take out our inventory, I ride it, and I do video reviews on it. I make short form content for like Instagram and Facebook, and it's going really well. I started the channel in June, and I just got a notification Saturday that I've completed one of the two requirements to monetize it. So I've already got 4,000 hours of viewing time logged. I'm about 118 subscribers shy of being a paid YouTuber.
Right on.
What's that number that you need to get the paid version?
Okay, so um, you need 500 subscribers, and then you can start getting, small monetization. They'll throw a little commercial in at like the 5-minute mark of your video. Once you have 1,000 subscribers, you can start doing like ad revenue, or like where you actually incorporate a product into your video and you do like a little mini advertisement for it. So a lot of the YouTubers that you probably follow, you've noticed like every 5 minutes a commercial will pop up, or sometimes they'll actually detour from the video they're doing where they'll talk briefly about a product that's a sponsor. That's how they make money. So
Yep. Yep. Without a doubt. Now I get the paid subscription to YouTube, so I don't see as many commercials, but they're always the guys, somewhere in there they're gonna, deviate from what they're talking about, and from whatever, their sponsors are, there's always something they're putting in there. But
yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's good stuff. So tell us really quick then about Nash and what you like the most about working with Nash.
So one, we're a gorgeous store. We've got an awesome inventory. So we sell KTM, gas, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Yamaha, Polaris, Can-Am, Sea-Doo, and we just took on a brand new manufacturer called Kove. They're a Chinese rally bike, and I actually last weekend got to be the first person in the state of Washington to ride one. So I got sent home with it for the weekend, put it through its paces, and did a video review on it. But yeah, I mean, I love our inventory. I love that we're in a good location, and we're involved in a bunch of things in the riding community. We actually, on Saturday mornings, we have here at the store uh, the local concealed firearms course. They have that here at the dealership. Um, we've got a bunch of veterans that work here as well. And yeah, I mean, one thing I try to convey to our team, and I know just as a whole, like as an organization, we all believe in this, is that we don't want to just sell you a bike. We want to sell you the bike, the right bike for your skill set, like where you're trying to go as a rider. Maybe you've been, a cruiser guy. You've been somebody who's always been like with the Harley scene, right? But you want to try off-road riding. Those are two very different worlds, and you got to build a bridge for somebody. Like guy who can ride a Harley, it doesn't go so well the first time on a dirt bike. So you don't just sell them, a 450 motocross bike and say, go have fun. You got to like kind of build them a little bridge and a game plan, and the riding gear is different, all of it. So we try to give a pretty good education to people as to, hey man, we want to make you this kind of rider because that's what you want to be, but let's put the plan together.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, good deal.
So if people want to get hold of you, what is the best way for them to reach you?
I mean, okay, like my cell phone, my email, the store. Okay, so the store is just nashpowersports.com. You can see our entire inventory on there. We've got, I want to say, over 500 units right now in stock. Um, if they wanted to see the reviews I'm doing, that's on YouTube. My YouTube channel is called Work to Live, Live to Ride. So WORK, the number two, LIV underscore LIV number two ride.
And we'll put
And
those links in the description under the show too. We just like to have you say them, and so they know they're in there.
cool. Yeah. And like, I'm not necessarily looking just for gearheads to follow my content. Like, I review a lot of bikes that are like for beginner riders. So I'm trying to keep the reviews diverse, a lot of different machinery, a lot of different styles of bikes, and for a lot of different types of riders. So when I'm reviewing a bike that's for a novice level rider, I don't review it as myself, someone that's been riding for, 25, 30 years. I try to review it as a new rider would see it through their lens. You know what I mean? Like, this is why a new rider is going to think this cool, even though I might it might not really pull any of my strings. I try to review it in a way that like somebody who's potentially buying that bike would get excited about it.
I think that as long as I've known you, that's always been something that stood out. We talked earlier about the Marine recruiter that you had and the takeaway, sales tactic and technique, but that doesn't supersede your desire to make sure you're putting people into the right machine, right? And so, you've always been really good at talking to people and even talking them away from a vehicle that they have no business being in or being on, in this case, in the power sport world, because they're going to walk away, they're going to have a bad experience or maybe get into an accident or do something, and that's going to come back on you, one, but two, you don't want to have that on your conscience when after they ride out of the dealership and then it happens, and that's on you, and you've always taken that responsibility really serious. And I think that really does make you stand apart from those guys you described earlier with their finger on the phone or calling cars off the street to bring them in. And that's something that I definitely think should be highlighted for anybody that's thinking about, following somebody's content or going somewhere to get their first bike or even their fifth bike, is that this is a place to go where you're really going to get taken care of, not just sold something.
Well, this is already a super dangerous hobby, like lifestyle that I'm a part of. It's very dangerous. So um, it can be a lot more dangerous if you don't have the right guidance. Like putting a new rider on a bike with 100+ horsepower. That's a terrible move, and it shouldn't happen. But there are dealerships that, hey, we sold a bike, we won, even though it was completely the wrong machine for that person, and it really set them up to fail. So if you're thinking big picture, if you're thinking long term, that's not heat or publicity that you want for your store or for yourself. Obviously, we want to sell a lot of bikes, but we want to do it the right way, ethically. We want people to have a good experience, so they come back, they bring their friends and family, and just create good vibes in the community.
Yeah, 100%.
Right on. Well, Jake, as we wind this down, I definitely want to, thank you for coming on the show. And, it's always good to see you again, being that I live down here in Florida now. And, I don't get to see you up there networking and everything, but, you're always doing great things. You've always been a great, person, veteran overall to a lot of people up there. So, thanks for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Likewise, I appreciate you having me, and good to see you. And I'm sure I'll see this guy here before you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be back up there next fall.
Right on.
Cool. All right, gentlemen. Till next time.
Have a good day.
All right. So that's good. This is Dave from AmericanVeteranBusiness.com. I want to thank you for joining us today. If you could do us a huge favor and click on like, subscribe, share us, and and write a comment. That helps us out to make sure that more people see this. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you soon.